And welcome back. Of course, this is K24 this morning. And as promised, it's time for us to get up close and personal this morning. And we told you Jimmy Gait from India straight to our studio to talk about his journey. There's a brief break he took from music. People weren't really sure what was going on. And then he told us that he has to go for, for treatment in India. So we're unpacking that entire journey. And now that he's back, what he's doing that because now he has a passion and he wants to take a petition to the president. Why, how, and that will happen. We talk about all of that right here on the show. Tweet us as well at K24 TV. You can also SMS us on 21222. That's the number right here. Mr. Jimmy, a big welcome.
Thank you so much.
Bila kukam kwa show yetu, man. The last time you came here, we were talking about music.
Right.
And then it's like you took a back seat from music for a while. What was going on in that particular space?
Well, I think for quite a while, I was having this challenge that I was struggling with my health. So that sort of made me take a back. And I was trying to get medication and treatment locally. Went to many different hospitals and it didn't seem to work. Right.
I'll be talking about that as well. You know, how you discovered that, okay, this is not just like a normal ailment I'm having or just being under the weather. In terms of that, because you're not only a musician, you're also in business. When you modua biashara, what happened to that as well? Did you decide, because I probably can't sing or perform, let me just focus more on my other businesses? Is that what was happening?
Yes, of course. I pay a lot of attention to my business because that's what I fall back on. That's what supports my music. So, and that for me is important, because it helps me to focus on doing music for the right cause and not for the money. Because when you do music just for, as your main source of revenue, then it means that everything you do has to do with, I want to get paid, So I needed to shift my focus from not, because at some point in music, you can get to a place where it's all about the money. And if you don't watch out, then you lose the vision and the calling that as a gospel artist you're called for. When you're a secular artist, it's different. It's totally and purely business. But for a gospel artist, it's ministry and it's supposed to be a calling. So for me, business is important for it to be able to support what I do.
Let's talk about your health. When did you realize, okay, this is not just fatigue or being under the weather, there's like a problem here? Because for most guys, unasikia kaumivu fulani, you shake it off, buy painkillers, you're like, hii itaisha. When did you realize there's a bit more to this than, seeing?
It was, I think, around 3 years ago when I started feeling some discomfort on my throat. And I thought it was just a normal cold, and I went to the hospital. Actually, I went to a chemist and I bought some medication, and like we always do as Kenyans, we prescribe for ourselves. I took the medication and it didn't work. I went to another chemist and again, same story. So I decided to go to the hospital, and I went to one of these big hospitals that I wouldn't mention. And the doctor listened to me and gave me some prescription, and when I took the prescription, it didn't work. And I went to another hospital and another hospital and another hospital, and it was worrying me because I used to feel pain on my throat, and it started really bothering me. There was blockage on my throat. Then eventually I was advised to see an ENT specialist. So I went.
At that point, had the alarm sounded in you, or you like, ini kitu tunaweza sota haraka? Were you worried at that point?
I was worried because it wasn't going, and I was feeling pain on my throat, and I was always feeling something that's blocking my throat. So when I went to the ENT doctor, he listened to me, and again, he said, okay, we'll give you medication, then if it doesn't work, you come back. It didn't work, so I went back, and he said, we have to perform a surgery. And I wasn't comfortable with that. That, first of all, shocked me, because I was like, how can you operate my throat?
Did you ask him? Because usually at that particular point, you're like, why are you doing this? Did you have a conversation?
I did. Of course I had to, because my voice is my most precious asset, So I had to ask him, if you perform this surgery, is my voice going to be okay? Will I be able to sing again? And he assured me that, yes, you'll be able to sing again. I wasn't comfortable with that, so I sought another opinion from another ENT doctor. And again, he listened to me. And when he listened to me, within 5 minutes, he was like, yes, we'll do a surgery on you. But what really triggered me is the fact that he was becoming a bit transactional on the operation. You know, he was like, you know, I do operations in some of these big hospitals, and if you go to this one hospital or any of these hospitals, they'll charge you X amount. But if I do for you in my clinic, I'll charge you half the price. You know, and he was like, you can even come tomorrow, we do it, you know, finish this thing.
Right.
And it was becoming so transactional. Another thing is he didn't run any tests on me. He just listened to me, you know. And there he is deciding that he wants to do an operation on me. I wasn't comfortable with that.
Right.
So when I went back in the evening, I shared that with my friend. And my friend was like, I know somebody who facilitates patients to India. Why don't we first get another opinion? Even if you're to be operated because your voice is very critical for your life, I think the operation can be done there.
Right.
So we sent the reports, and the following day I received a recommendation of different hospitals, and I chose one hospital.
Right.
And long story short, I went to India.
Actually, let's even just pause at that particular point where you go to India, because I do believe we have a video clip on that as well. Let's play it and then get back to the story, because at this particular point in time, when anybody goes to India, we know things are serious.
Yes.
You know, it seems like Kenyan healthcare system can't hack it.
Right.
You decided to go and get a third opinion in India. Let's look at this clip and then come back with more.
To keep you posted on what's going on. For those of you who are aware, I'm already in India for my treatment, so that I'm able to know exactly what's going on. I've been having a throat problem for quite a long time, and I was not able to get cure back at home, so that's why I decided to come here. The treatment is already started. I'm about to do a procedure called endoscopy. I'm about to do endoscopy, which is then putting a camera in my throat all the way down to my tummy to check what the problem is with my throat.
Of course, those are some of you know, the sights and sounds as he was you know, when he was going to India, and what happened in India as well. And Jimmy, let me ask you about this as well, because before you made the announcement that you're going to India for treatment, you've been even off social media for a while. You aren't as active as you usually were. We talked about that on the show, and there are very many questions being asked as well. Is this a publicity stunt? Is he getting back? Is there a song coming up, you know, as well? Because as an artist, it's showbiz. You have to know how to get the attention, how to move it. What do you say to that? Because people are like, okay, fine, he's been on the low for so long, and then all of a sudden it's almost a mini reality show on his YouTube channel when he's in India. What do you have to say about that?
I'll tell you this. I think God has just been taking me through a process, and I know for a fact that I'm moving to another phase in life. And I needed to take a break also, first of all, to deal with my health, because it was really bogging me down. But also I know for a fact that God is you know, shifting me to another higher calling.
Right.
And so I needed to take that break to also meditate, to connect with God more and seek Him more, because at the end of the day, I'm a minister, and I need to seek, to connect with the source of my calling, who is God.
Right.
And I thank God because of that whole process. So it wasn't a publicity stunt. It was it's a spiritual journey for me. And so everything just happens. By the way, everything is just happening without any plans.
Some people are wondering, why did you have to bring, because you know, at that particular point in time, I'm sure you also feel vulnerable, because now, as you're saying, you're going for endoscopies and all of these tests. You don't know whether you'll make it out or what will happen, whether you'll have your voice. The fact that you brought literally the world in, because anyone can see on YouTube as to what's going on every single day. What some people are asking, why at this particular point do you want us to see all of that process when you are away, when you're in India?
I think everybody is entitled to what they want to do. I'm a person, and I keep telling people, I'm as human as anyone else.
Right.
I'm entitled to what I want to show the world.
Right.
Just like I'm entitled to what I don't want to show the world. Right. And I'm responsible for what I mean by what I say. But I'm not responsible for what people interpret and what they think I mean.
Right.
People can always pick what they want to pick. But what matters is, what did you exactly mean? Why did you do what you did? For me, it was genuine. By the time I came online and I talked about my health, I was at a point of frustration. By the way, I was feeling a lot of pain on my throat.
Even as you're doing that video?
Yes. I was feeling a lot of pain. Nile tu kujikaza kimwanaume.
Right.
I was spitting blood. Blood was coming out from my mouth, you know, because my throat was really painful. I couldn't shout or raise my voice. I couldn't sing. I even tried recording in the studio and I just couldn't. I had to cancel sessions. You know? So it was as genuine, as authentic can be.
Right.
But here's the thing. People will always see and pick what they want to pick.
Right.
So
Right.
I think for me now, I've learned to just focus on what I'm doing and just make sure that my attitude is right and why I'm doing it is right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about India and go back there. You did the tests.
Yes.
When you finally went in to see what the doctor had to say, and they told you that actually it wasn't the surgery that you needed because you're suffering from hyperacidity.
Yes.
What went through your mind when they were giving you all of this and you remember
Yes.
what happened when you were in Kenya and the opinions that you got from different doctors on the same?
Well, as I put it on my YouTube, it was shocking for me because I couldn't understand how a doctor here would want to destroy my life. The one thing that my doctor in India told me is any specialist who has ENT background knows that the operation that was to be done would affect my voice permanently. So the question is, why would a doctor want to proceed on with an operation? I asked him over and over again.
And you asked that particular question?
Yes, 2 times to the 2 doctors. Are you sure my voice is going to be okay? And they all said, yes, you'll be fine, no problem. But they kept insisting on the urgency of performing the operation and the amount, you know. And when I remembered now, I was like, okay, I think it wasn't about me, it was about them.
Right. Right.
And that is what really shocked me.
And as all of this has happened, because it's also been covered in papers, on websites, on your channels, have those doctors since reached out? Have you had a conversation with them in any forum concerning their diagnosis of the same?
No, we haven't had. But guess what? One of my friends went to one of the doctors.
One of those 2 doctors that
Yes.
treated you?
Yes. And told the doctor, oh, by the way, Jimmy Gait referred me to you. And the doctor did not even say nothing. He brushed off that. He looked guilty of what he did.
Right.
And here's the thing. I have moved on. God has healed me. And I'm continuing with the process of treatment. But here's the thing. For me, the highlight of my journey to India was not even about me. It was about the Kenyans I saw there and the sufferings they are going through. That for me was the highlight. And I think that's the reason I went to India. The fact that I see the miracle of God because Kenyans really prayed for me, by the way. I've never received as much love as I have during this season.
Right.
The prayers they've prayed for me, I mean, it's been amazing. And 2 things would have happened if I believe prayers were not done. Number 1, I would have lost my voice permanently, so that would have ended my career. And number 2, my condition would have progressed to stomach cancer.
Right.
So God turned my story around. And I believe it's the power of prayers that Kenyans prayed for me and the faith that we all put together that turned my story around.
Right.
But also number 2, I believe that I went to India to have an experience of what Kenyans are going through. I met almost 100 Kenyans in the hospitals being treated in. So many Kenyans are going to India every single year. And out of their 100, because I met with every Kenyan, I had to visit every Kenyan. I talked to every Kenyan, and the things that were coming out with all these Kenyans, 70% were saying they've been misdiagnosed. They were having issues with medical records, high cost of treatment. You know, some of them, I have few cases of this young lady who had an accident. She was taken to one of these big hospitals and, you know, had a big wound, covered with a plaster for like 2 weeks, and the whole leg has rotten. And going to the hospital, operations, like she has been done 30 operations on her leg in one of these hospitals here. By the time she was going to India, it was so bad. First of all, she had accumulated a bill of 15 million, and the hospital is actually on her case to pay or they be auctioned. She's in India getting treatment. not having enough money, and the pain is crazy. And the doctors in India were like, what were the doctors thinking when they were doing all they were doing? I mean, this should not have come this far. And such kind of stories just made me cry. You know, Jeff, I cried tears, you know. I felt pain. You know, this mzee, unfortunately, he just passed on yesterday. And my God, you know, this mzee has been going to hospital here for 6 months. He has gone to one hospital to another, being treated for malaria, you know, only to go to India and be told he has cancer stage 4. And he just passed on. And these stories, lots and lots of stories. Another woman who was a victim of bomb blast in Pangani. She was fractured all over. She was done, I think, 15 operations. And by the time she was going to India, her body was totally deformed. Thank God, she has been treated well. But here's the thing. A lot of patients that I met there were talking about misdiagnosis. And
that's something you've taken personally, because
yes,
now there's a petition that we are seeing. Let's talk about this and what you want to do for people who probably haven't gotten a chance to sign as well. What's the petition about, and what do you want to achieve by starting it?
First of all, about misdiagnosis, I'm a victim. I was misdiagnosed. So when I talk about misdiagnosis, I'm not just talking about what I'm hearing. It's an experience. Then there are so many Kenyans, and I think even right now, Kenyans should share their stories here and tell us. You would be shocked how many people have been misdiagnosed. And that's why in the petition, it's asking Kenyans, number one, recognizing that our president, in his big 4, health is one of his...
Affordable healthcare.
Exactly. Our president is passionate about building a healthy nation. But here's the thing. Even if our president builds all the biggest hospitals and great equipments, the attitude of the medical practitioners and doctors is paramount.
Right.
If when Wanjiku goes to the hospital, the doctor sees the money and not helping Wanjiku, even if we have hospitals even better than India, the health system will not work.
Right.
So the petition is not attacking all the doctors in hospitals, because I'm not saying that all hospitals in Kenya are bad, all the doctors are bad. No. We have good doctors and good hospitals in Kenya.
Right.
But we have a huge section of hospitals and doctors who are not doing it right. They are in it for the money. They've turned the health sector into a business. And so the petition is for the president to be, we empower the president by our voice. We speak one voice. I believe so many Kenyans have been misdiagnosed, have been kicked out of hospital because of high costs of treatment. So petition number 1 is saying, proposing to the president to put a task force that, number 1, is going to educate the public in regards to our healthcare rights. Because when you go to a hospital, can you imagine? I was asking questions to the doctor here, and it's like he's getting mad. It's like I'm wasting his time.
Right.
And I want to spend time to know what my condition is. But do we know as Kenyans our rights in regards to healthcare? So that is
the first thing.
The first thing. Number 2, we want every public doctor who is working with government not to be allowed to run their own private pharmacies, clinics, or laboratories. Because you know what they do with them? They use them to extort Kenyans. If you're a public doctor, stay in the public sector. If you're a private doctor, stay in the private sector. Right. Number 3, we need unlimited access to medical reports. You know, when you go to the hospital, you have to be given all your reports.
Right.
I have a big file of everything that was done on me, with every file on me. That's what we are advocating for, because some hospitals will not allow you to have your records.
Okay.
We're also saying we need standardization of medical health care. Costs, you know, the costs. If you're a level 5 hospital, there should be a capping. You should not be given the freedom to charge whatever you want. You know,
okay.
There should be a capping.
And for someone who's watching and probably is feeling, okay, fine, I identify with what's going on, I want to be part of this. How do they play their part in making sure that their match signatures are put on this particular petition? What's the call to action?
It's very simple, yeah? just go to change.org. Change.org. Just search for expose negligent doctors.
Right.
Expose. In fact, I think it's put on the screen.
Right.
Just go to change.org. We need to sign this petition.
Okay.
So that it's pushed as a policy in Parliament.
Right.
Because we can keep complaining and complaining, but if we don't change, nothing will change.
Okay. Fantastic stuff. And even as we wind up right here, just very shortly in 10 seconds, are we leaving music, Jimmy Gait? There's a story today that you're quitting music and you've said you're preparing for a new season.
Yes.
Are we going to see you back in studio recording more music?
The statement I made and I still will make, I don't want to give more details, but I'm saying I'm releasing a new song on 1st of October, which is going to be my last song to close this chapter and enter a new one.
A new chapter. Okay, fantastic stuff. After 1st October, we shall see which new season and chapter comes along so far.